AITA for telling my aunt she needs to hire a real babysitter after years of dumping her kids on me for free because family helps family. I'm writing this from my bedroom at 2 a.m. because I just had the most explosive fight with my family, and I honestly don't know if I'm being reasonable or if I've turned into a selfish monster like they're saying I am. For context, I'm 19F and a sophomore in college. I live at home to save money, which has been great for my finances, but terrible for my personal life, as you'll understand by the time I finish this story. My Aunt Jessica, 42F, has 3 kids: Emma, 8F, Tyler, 6M, and baby Madison, 18 months. Jessica is a single mom. She divorced her husband 2 years ago after finding out he was cheating, and she's been struggling financially ever since. She works as a dental hygienist, which pays okay, but isn't amazing, especially when you're supporting 3 kids on your own. I genuinely felt bad for Jessica when she was going through her divorce. It was messy. Her ex-husband fought the child support, and she was clearly overwhelmed trying to manage everything on her own. Our whole family rallied around her, which was the right thing to do. But somewhere along the way, Jessica decided that family rallying around her meant that I was her free, on-call babysitter for life. It started small about 2 years ago. Jessica would call my mom and ask if I could watch the kids for a few hours while she ran errands or went to appointments. Since I was still in high school and had flexible schedules, it seemed reasonable to help out occasionally. Just for a couple hours, Jessica would say. Emma and Tyler are so good, and they love spending time with their cousin. The kids were good, and I did enjoy spending time with them. Emma was sweet and easy to entertain. Tyler was a typical energetic 6-year-old but manageable, and baby Madison was usually pretty calm. But occasionally quickly turned into regularly, and a couple hours started stretching into entire days. By the time I graduated high school, I was watching Jessica's kids at least twice a week. Sometimes it was during the day while she worked extra shifts. Sometimes it was evenings when she had important meetings or networking events. I never asked what these meetings and events were, but based on her social media posts, a lot of them seemed to involve dinner and drinks with friends. Which, look, I get that single moms need social time too. But it started feeling less like helping family in an emergency and more like being a free childcare service, so Jessica could maintain her social life. When I started college last year, I assumed the babysitting would decrease since I'd have classes and homework and my own life to worry about. I was wrong. If anything, Jessica's demands on my time increased. She seemed to view my college schedule as more flexible than a traditional job, which meant I was even more available to help with the kids. "You're so lucky you don't have a real job yet," she'd say. "You can make your own schedule." Never mind that I was taking 15 credit hours, trying to maintain a good GPA, and working a part-time job at the campus bookstore to help pay for expenses. In Jessica's mind, college wasn't real work, so my time was essentially free. The requests became more frequent and less reasonable. Jessica would text me at 7 p.m. asking if I could come over right now to watch the kids because she had a work emergency that would keep her out until midnight. She'd call me on Saturday mornings asking if I could take the kids for the entire day because she needed to catch up on household stuff. I said yes most of the time because I felt guilty saying no. Jessica would always make it sound urgent and important, and my family would pressure me to help because she's really struggling, and family takes care of family. But I started noticing that Jessica's emergencies often coincided with social events. Her work emergency would end with Instagram photos of her at a bar with friends. Her Saturday of household stuff would include posts from the mall, the nail salon, and brunch with her girlfriends. I was starting to feel taken advantage of, but every time I thought about saying something, Jessica would do something that made me feel guilty. She'd mention how hard it was being a single mom, or how she couldn't afford a real babysitter, or how grateful she was to have family who cared about her kids. The breaking point started building earlier this semester when Jessica began treating me less like family doing a favor and more like an employee, except without the pay. She started giving me detailed instructions for watching the kids, like I hadn't been doing it successfully for 2 years. She'd leave lists of activities I should do with them, specific meal plans I needed to follow, and strict schedules for naps and screen time. "Make sure Tyler doesn't have more than 1 hour of iPad time," her note would say. Emma needs to practice her spelling words. Madison's bottle should be warmed for exactly 30 seconds in the microwave. If I deviated from her instructions at all, I'd get a lecture about how important consistency was for the children's development. But the most frustrating part was how Jessica started treating my availability as a given rather than a favor. She wouldn't ask if I could babysit anymore. She'd just inform me that she needed me. "I have a work thing Thursday night, so I'll drop the kids off around 5, she'd text. "Can you take Emma to her soccer practice Saturday morning? I have plans. I need you to watch Madison all day Sunday while I catch up on some stuff." No, please. No, if you're available. No acknowledgement that she was asking for a significant favor. Just expectations that I would rearrange my life around her needs. When I started pushing back gently, Jessica would get defensive and emotional. "I thought I could count on family," she'd say. "I'm already struggling so much, and now I can't even rely on you for help." The guilt trips were effective, and I usually caved. But my resentment was building, especially as I watched my college friends having normal social lives while I was stuck at home changing diapers and mediating fights between an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. Things escalated about a month ago when Jessica asked me to babysit for an entire weekend while she went on a girls' trip to Napa Valley with her book club. "It's just 2 nights, she said. "The kids will be asleep most of the time anyway." 2 nights of babysitting would mean missing a friend's birthday party, canceling plans I'd made with my boyfriend, and spending my entire weekend dealing with 3 kids, including a toddler who still wasn't sleeping through the night. "Jessica, I don't think I can do a whole weekend," I said. "I have plans, and Madison is still pretty demanding at night." Jessica's response was to get upset and start crying. "I never get to do anything for myself," she said. "This is the first vacation I've planned since my divorce, and now I can't even go because I can't afford a babysitter for the weekend." "What about asking someone else in the family?" I suggested. "Or maybe finding a babysitter just for this special occasion? Everyone else is busy or lives too far away, and I can't afford to pay someone for an entire weekend. You know how tight money is for me right now." I felt terrible, but I also felt like I was being manipulated. Jessica had money for a weekend in Napa Valley with her friends, but she couldn't afford to pay for childcare? The math didn't add up. But once again, the family pressure started. My mom called to say that Jessica was really counting on me, and that it would mean so much to her to have this break. My grandmother chimed in about how hard Jessica's life was and how I should be willing to sacrifice one weekend to help her. I caved and agreed to the weekend babysitting, but I was starting to feel really resentful about the whole situation. The weekend was exhausting. Madison had a stomach bug and was up crying most of Friday night. Tyler decided to have a meltdown on Saturday because he wanted to go home, and Emma kept asking when her mom was coming back. I barely slept, ate nothing but goldfish crackers and apple slices, and spent the entire weekend managing 3 kids who were cranky because they missed their mom. Meanwhile, Jessica's Instagram was full of photos of wine tastings, spa treatments, and expensive dinners. When she came back Sunday evening, she seemed refreshed and happy, which I was glad about. But her attitude toward me was what really got under my skin. "How did everything go?" she asked, like she was checking in with a professional babysitter. "It was fine," I said, not wanting to complain about the stomach bug or the meltdowns. "Great. I knew I could count on you. The kids are so lucky to have such a responsible cousin." That was it. No real thank you, no acknowledgement of how much time and energy I'd sacrificed, no recognition that spending a weekend caring for 3 young children is actually really hard work. Just a casual assumption that of course I'd been happy to do it, because that's what family does. I started thinking about how much money Jessica would have had to pay a professional babysitter for that weekend. At minimum wage, it would have been at least $400, and realistically, someone watching 3 kids, including a toddler, overnight would charge much more than minimum wage. I had essentially given Jessica a $400 plus gift so she could go on vacation, and she seemed to think I should be grateful for the opportunity to help. That's when I started calculating how much free babysitting I'd provided over the past 2 years. Twice a week, usually for 4 to 6 hours at a time, sometimes longer for special occasions like the Napa trip. Even at minimum wage, I'd probably provided close to $8,000 worth of free childcare. $8,000. That's not just family helping family. That's one family member providing a significant financial service to another family member without any compensation or even acknowledgement of the value of that service. I started feeling stupid for not recognizing sooner how one-sided this arrangement had become. And I started getting angry about how my time and energy were being taken for granted. The final straw came last week. I was at the campus library studying for midterms when Jessica texted me at 3 p.m. on a Wednesday. Emma is sick and needs to be picked up from school. Can you get her and watch her for the rest of the day? I can't leave work. I was in the middle of a study group for my organic chemistry exam, which is one of the hardest classes I've ever taken. Missing the study session would put me at a real disadvantage for the exam. I'm in the middle of studying for a big exam. I texted back. Is there anyone else who could help? There's no one else. Please, I really need you right now. I felt the familiar guilt and pressure, but I also felt frustrated that Jessica assumed I could just drop everything because she needed help. What about your mom? I asked. Jessica's mother lives about 30 minutes away. She's at work too. Look, I know it's not convenient, but Emma has a fever and the school won't let her stay. I'm really in a bind here. I ended up leaving my study group and spending the afternoon taking care of a sick 8-year-old instead of preparing for my exam. Emma was genuinely sick. She had a fever and was feeling pretty miserable, so I'm glad I was there for her. But I was resentful that once again, Jessica's emergency had become my problem to solve. The next day, Jessica texted to thank me and then immediately followed up with another request. Tyler has a half-day Friday, and I have to work. Can you pick him up and watch him until I get off at 6? That's when something in me snapped. Jessica, I need to talk to you about the babysitting situation. I texted back. What do you mean? I've been providing free childcare multiple times a week for 2 years, and it's starting to interfere with my school and my own life. I think we need to figure out a different arrangement. My phone rang immediately. What's going on? Jessica asked, sounding hurt and confused. I thought you liked spending time with the kids. I do like spending time with them, but this has gone way beyond occasional family help. I'm babysitting constantly, and it's affecting my studies and my social life. I don't understand. I only ask when I really need help. Jessica, you ask me to babysit at least twice a week, every week. Last month, I spent an entire weekend watching the kids so you could go to Napa. This isn't occasional help anymore. I'm basically your regular childcare. There was a long pause. I didn't realize you felt that way, she said finally. I thought you understood how hard things are for me right now. I do understand that things are hard, but that doesn't mean I should be expected to provide unlimited free babysitting. I have my own life and responsibilities. So what are you saying? That you won't help me anymore? I'm saying that I think you need to find more sustainable childcare arrangements. Maybe I could still help occasionally for real emergencies, but I can't be your regular babysitter anymore. That conversation ended with Jessica getting upset and saying she'd figure something out, but I could tell she was hurt and angry. Within hours, my phone started ringing with family members who had heard Jessica's side of the story. My mom called first. Jessica is really upset, she said. She says you told her you won't help with the kids anymore. That's not what I said. I said I can't be her regular babysitter anymore because it's interfering with my school. But honey, she's family. And she's really struggling right now. I know she's struggling, but I'm struggling too. I'm trying to do well in college, and I've been providing free childcare multiple times a week for 2 years. That's not sustainable. Maybe you could just help her out until she gets back on her feet financially? Mom, it's been 2 years. If she hasn't figured out childcare by now, me continuing to enable this isn't helping her. It's just making me resentful. My mom wasn't happy with that response, but she said she'd talk to Jessica about finding other options. Then my grandmother called. I'm very disappointed in you, she said without preamble. Jessica is going through the hardest time of her life, and instead of supporting her, you're abandoning her when she needs you most. Grandma, I haven't abandoned her. I've been helping her for 2 years. But I can't sacrifice my education and my future to provide free childcare indefinitely. When I was young, family took care of family without expecting payment or keeping score. This isn't about payment. This is about the fact that I've become Jessica's primary childcare solution, and that's not fair to me or sustainable long-term. Those children need stability, and you're taking that away from them. The guilt was overwhelming, but I tried to stand firm. The children need their mother to find sustainable childcare arrangements, not to depend on their teenage cousin to raise them. That conversation ended with my grandmother saying she hoped I'd reconsider my selfishness and think about what really mattered. Then Jessica herself showed up at our house Sunday afternoon, with all 3 kids in tow. "I need to talk to you," she said. The kids ran off to play, and Jessica sat down at our kitchen table looking exhausted and upset. "I've been thinking about what you said," she began, "and I think you're being really unfair." "Unfair how?" "I never forced you to babysit. You always said yes when I asked for help. If you didn't want to do it, you should have said no from the beginning." I was stunned. "Jessica, you made every request sound like an emergency. You'd guilt-trip me if I hesitated, and the whole family would pressure me to help because you were struggling." "I never guilt-tripped you. I just explained my situation so you'd understand why I needed help. You literally cried when I said I couldn't do the Napa weekend, and then got the whole family to pressure me into changing my mind." Jessica was quiet for a moment, then said, "Look, maybe I relied on you more than I should have. But I genuinely couldn't afford professional childcare, and I thought family was supposed to help each other out. Family helping each other out is watching the kids occasionally when there's an emergency. What we had was me providing regular, ongoing childcare services for free while you treated me like an employee." "I never treated you like an employee. You left me detailed instruction lists, scolded me when I didn't follow your exact schedule, and started just telling me when I needed to babysit instead of asking if I was available." Jessica looked genuinely surprised, like she hadn't realized she'd been doing those things. "I was just trying to make sure the kids were taken care of properly," she said. "I understand that, but the way you communicated with me made it clear that you saw me as your babysitter, not as family doing you a favor." We went back and forth for a while, with Jessica insisting that she'd never meant to take advantage of me and me trying to explain how the situation had become unsustainable. Finally, Jessica said something that made me realize how differently we'd been viewing this whole arrangement. "I guess I just assumed that since you don't have kids of your own and you're not married and you're still in college, your time was more flexible than mine." "More flexible?" "I mean, you don't have the same responsibilities I do. You don't have to worry about supporting a family or managing a household. Your time is your own." I was floored. Jessica genuinely seemed to think that because I was young and single, my time was less valuable than hers. "Jessica, I have a full course load, a part-time job, and I'm trying to build a future for myself. My time isn't less valuable just because I don't have kids." "I didn't mean it that way." "Yes, you did. You think that because you have kids and I don't, your needs automatically take priority over mine. But that's not how it works." The conversation got heated from there. Jessica accused me of being selfish and not understanding what it's like to be a single mother. I accused her of taking advantage of me and treating my time as worthless. Finally, Jessica said something that made me lose my temper completely. "You know what? Fine. I'll figure out my own childcare. But don't expect me to come to you for help with anything ever again. And don't expect the kids to understand why their cousin suddenly doesn't want to spend time with them anymore." That last comment was what pushed me over the edge. "Are you seriously trying to manipulate me by suggesting that I'm hurting the children?" I said. "I love those kids and they know it. But I can't sacrifice my future to be their free babysitter forever." "No one asked you to sacrifice your future. I just asked for help when I needed it." "You asked for help multiple times a week for 2 years. That's not asking for help. That's making me your unpaid childcare provider." Jessica started crying then, which made me feel terrible, but I also felt like she was using tears to try to manipulate me into backing down. "I can't believe you're being so cruel," she said. "I thought family was supposed to support each other." "Family supporting each other goes both ways, Jessica. You've been taking my support for granted while giving nothing back. When was the last time you offered to help me with anything? When was the last time you even asked how school was going or if I needed anything?" Jessica didn't have an answer for that, which told me everything I needed to know. The conversation ended with Jessica gathering up her kids and leaving, but not before telling me that I was selfish and ungrateful for all the sacrifices she'd made as a mother. That was yesterday, and since then, my phone has been blowing up with family members weighing in on the situation. My Aunt Carol called to say that I was breaking up the family and that I should apologize to Jessica and agree to help with childcare again. My cousin Mike texted to say that while he understood my position, I should have handled it more diplomatically and not hurt Jessica's feelings so badly. My mom is trying to play peacekeeper, suggesting that maybe we could work out a compromise where I still help with babysitting but less frequently. But the more I think about it, the more convinced I am that I was right to set boundaries. For 2 years, I provided thousands of dollars worth of free childcare, while Jessica treated my time and energy as worthless. She never once offered to pay me, even when she was going on vacation or out for entertainment. She never acknowledged the value of what I was providing or showed genuine gratitude for the sacrifices I was making. Instead, she treated me like her personal babysitter and got upset when I finally said I couldn't do it anymore. And now the family is acting like I'm the villain for refusing to continue being taken advantage of. I keep thinking about what Jessica said about my time being more flexible because I don't have kids. The implication was that my goals, my education, my future plans, and my personal life all matter less than her needs because she chose to have children and I didn't. But that's not fair. I shouldn't be expected to put my life on hold indefinitely just because I'm young and single and Jessica needs help. I also keep thinking about the pattern this represents. If I cave now and go back to providing free childcare, what message does that send? That my boundaries don't matter? That I can be guilted into doing whatever Jessica wants as long as she cries and gets the family to pressure me? At the same time, I do feel guilty about the kids. Emma, Tyler, and Madison didn't ask to be born to a single mother who struggles financially. They're innocent in all this, and I hate the idea that they might feel rejected or confused by my decision to step back. But I also think that Jessica needs to learn to manage her childcare needs without relying on me. It's not healthy for her or the kids to be so dependent on one person, especially when that person is a college student who's trying to build her own future. My friends are split on this situation. Some think I was completely justified and that Jessica was taking advantage of me. Others think I should have been more diplomatic and tried to work out a compromise that wouldn't have hurt Jessica's feelings so badly. My boyfriend thinks I should cut off the family members who are pressuring me and focus on my own life. He's tired of watching me sacrifice my time and energy for people who don't appreciate it. But I'm torn. These are my family members, and despite everything, I do care about Jessica and her kids. I don't want to be cruel or selfish, but I also don't want to be a doormat. I keep wondering if there was a better way to handle this situation. Maybe I should have set boundaries earlier instead of letting resentment build up for 2 years. Maybe I should have been more gradual about reducing my availability instead of having one big confrontation. But I also think that Jessica's reaction to my boundaries tells me everything I need to know about how she viewed our arrangement. Instead of acknowledging that she'd been asking a lot of me and thanking me for years of help, she immediately got defensive and tried to make me feel guilty for protecting my own time and energy. That suggests to me that she never really saw what I was doing as a favor. She saw it as something she was entitled to because we're family. And I don't think I'm wrong to reject that sense of entitlement. So Reddit, AITA for telling my aunt that I can't be her free babysitter anymore after 2 years of watching her kids multiple times a week? Should I have been more diplomatic about setting boundaries? Or was I justified in finally standing up for myself? TLDR, my single mom aunt has been using me as her free babysitter 2 to 3 times a week for 2 years, treating my time as worthless because I'm young and don't have kids. When I finally set boundaries and said I couldn't provide regular childcare anymore due to my college workload, she accused me of being selfish and abandoning her in her time of need. Now my whole family is pressuring me to apologize and go back to being her unpaid childcare provider. AITA for refusing to continue sacrificing my education and social life to raise her children for free?